Raise your hand if you consider yourself a diet connoisseur. And by that, I mean that you've literally tried what feels like every diet under the sun in your effort to lose weight and get healthy. If so, you've probably also experienced the frustration and hopelessness that comes when nothing seems to actually work. That was definitely Anita's story too, at least until she discovered Thinlicious. As one of our essay contest winners, you got to hear a little of her story in our last episode, but today you'll get to hear her share in her own words what her 60-pound weight loss journey has looked like her so far. Welcome to the Ditch the Carbs podcast, brought to you by Thinlicious. I'm your host, Ruth Sukup, and here we'll talk about everything from the science of weight loss and metabolic flexibility to practical tips for making your health a priority in the midst of a very busy life. It's the perfect blend of insightful education, practical application, and good old-fashioned motivation. So buckle up, friend, because it's about to get real. Hey there, and welcome back to the Ditch the Carbs podcast. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ruth Sukup, and I am the founder of Thinlicious and the Thin Adapted System, as well as the New York Times bestselling author of 7 books. And today I am so excited to share Anita's weight loss journey in her own words. But before we dive into today's inspiring interview, I just wanted to make one very quick announcement. It's that if you are new to this podcast and to the low carb lifestyle, then I'd love to send you our free starter guide. It's super helpful for just understanding kind of the science behind our program, but basically how it works and why if you've reached a certain age in your life, it might actually feel like your metabolism has stopped working. And you can get that free guide at thinlicious.com/guide. Once again, it is available at thinlicious.com/guide. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's dive in because in today's episode, like I said, we are taking another deep dive into what actually transforming your life through adopting a low-carb lifestyle looks like in person by sitting down to chat with another one of our amazing Thinlicious clients and one of our 1-year anniversary essay contest winners, Anita Burns. And I love Anita's story because just like so many of us, she had tried and failed to lose weight many, many times in her life. In fact, it wasn't until she got some scary news from her doctor that she was ready to finally try something new. And as luck would have it, that's right about the time she discovered Thinlicious. But as always, it is better to hear Anita's story in her own words. Here's what she had to say when she sat down with Thinlicious success coach Lisa Thompson to talk about her journey so far.
Anita, do you want to briefly introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Anita Burns, and I have one husband and one teenage son, and neither of them are doing Thinlicious. So it's been fun. But they've discovered that they love the Thinlicious food. So I'm thinking, oh, well, maybe. But my son's a string bean. He doesn't need it. Let's see what else about me. I am 55 years old. I've been doing this since the middle of September, so about 7 months. I have lost 55.5 pounds. And I know that half matters, doesn't it? It's like you're a kid and I'm 5.5 years old. So yeah. So I think that's kind of funny that my age matches my weight loss. And let's see, I live in rainy Houston.
Okay. So what made you decide to try the Thinlicious program? And was this the first diet or lifestyle program you'd ever tried? And if not, how is it different than what you'd tried before?
Oh my gosh. No, I've done the extreme low calorie, at least 2 different other name brand national diet loss things, systems, food replacements. I've done all of those things and nothing was really working. I'm like, oh, I've just got to do the diet and exercise. And my weight just kept going up and up. And coincidentally, my house is getting messier and messier. And I decided to do one of these organizing, like a get organized thing. And I'm looking like through all the speakers that were on this online, kind of like our low carb summit, but it was for organizing. And I saw Ruth Sukup for health. And I'm like, wait, she does planners. What is this health thing? So I clicked on it and I watched it and I was like, wow, it's like mind was blown, light bulb went off. And I sat on it for a couple days and I'm thinking, should I, can I really give up sugar? Can I really do this? And I decided it's $50. I'm like, I'm in. So I signed up for it, missed the very beginning of that. And I just was blown away by all the information. It just clicked. Everything suddenly made sense. And so I followed it and I'm like, I can do this. I am doing this. And it was great. And I've been doing it for 7 months now. So
that's awesome. I didn't realize that you had come through that Get Organized Summit.
Yes.
Okay. That's really cool.
My house is still a mess, but my health is getting in order.
Good. Who cares? My house is a mess too. So I totally get that. Okay. So what kind of goals did you have when you started? What were you hoping to achieve?
I had just been to the doctor for some blood work and it was showing that I was borderline. I mean, looking at the numbers, I was pre-diabetic and the doctor's like, oh, you're insulin resistant. But looking at the actual numbers on the charts, I'm like, no, I'm pre-diabetic. And that scared me because I know I have diabetes in my family and I didn't want that. And it's just, I just felt sluggish and I just felt, I don't know, I just didn't feel like me anymore. But it was the blood work numbers that really scared me. So I knew I had to do something. And that's right when I found this, it all came together. So I did the Thinlicious because I thought that's going to get down my blood sugar. And it did. My numbers went from like 140 down to, I've been consistently in the 80s now. So I'm like, I'm happy with that. I'm really, really happy with that.
That's awesome.
I had the blood work then redone back in January, I think. And that's after having been on the program for maybe 4 months. And my cholesterol and my triglycerides were lower than they have ever been in my adult life, which just blows my mind because I'm eating 80% fat, and how is it that my triglycerides are so low? So I was just blown away by those numbers. But I was glad I didn't do it right away because I had read that in the first month or two, your blood work numbers will go up. So I was glad that I didn't have that scheduled for a couple more months. But yeah, my doctor's like, what are you doing?
So I was going to say, I bet your doctor was like, what in the world has changed in the last few months?
Yeah, exactly.
That's big time. That's really huge. So because you had done these other programs, because you tried lots of things that weren't beneficial, that didn't help you get where you want it to be, did you have any hesitation about joining this?
A little bit. I was just concerned if I was going to actually be able to do it because I had lost weight on other programs and then I gained it right back. But usually I didn't finish the program. Usually I'd get, I don't want to say bored, but something would happen. I did low carb right before my wedding and I lost a lot of weight before the wedding. Well, then we went to Italy for our honeymoon and that was done. So I wasn't too sure about it, but honestly, it's been much easier than I thought it would be. So I was really glad that I took that plunge and did it.
That's awesome. Okay, so you have now lost 55 and a half.
And a half.
That half counts. I definitely counts. 55 and a half pounds. Is that like when you started, if you knew that 7 months later that you would have lost 55 pounds, would that be shocking to you?
I'm not sure I would have believed it. I'm thinking, okay, maybe 30 pounds if I really pushed it and really worked at it. But I feel like I've done nothing. I just make sure that I don't eat the things that turn to sugar in my body. And it's like I'm not really dieting. I'm not counting points. I'm not counting calories. All I'm doing is making sure that everything I eat is low carb. So it's much easier to count up to, well, I'm phase 2. So it's much easier to count up to 35 carbs than it is to count 1,000 calories or however much you're getting. So
yeah, for sure. For sure. Are you pretty accurate with your tracking, and how do you track?
I use the Lose It app, and I really like that one. I do have the paid. I started on the free, and I got the, hey, for $20 or however much it was, maybe it was more, I don't remember. Like, yeah, that's a good deal. So I have the paid thing. I find it very easy to use. I do try to pre-track my meals because I find that does really help me keep my carbs in line. And actually, I find that my carbs are usually low because I don't do a lot of the snack foods. I don't try to make a lot of the cookies and the breads and all the keto desserts. So because when I do that, I get a little bit of sugar and suddenly I need more and I need more. And then I find that I'm overeating and then my weight loss stalls. So I try not to do that. So I have to get more carbs. So usually I'll add a handful of raspberries or blueberries. And sometimes I'll even have a little mandarin orange. Those are like 10 carbs each, but those are so good.
Yeah. And you know what, when you are planning ahead and you are using that Lose It app, oh, you know what, I can have a mandarin orange today. And and there is something about knowing like, okay, I can make whatever work into this program for me, whatever within reason. Obviously you're not gonna be like, so I had a cookie or 12 cookies. Like you can, if you decide this is what I'm going to have, like, yes, is it going to take all your carbs? It is. Is it going to maybe spike your blood sugar and make you feel absolutely terrible? Probably. But if you're eating something like a mandarin orange, that's not going to kill you. So it's nice to know that you can, because you're planning ahead, budget, so to speak, for those special treats. And like, I feel like those, when you're eating those good fruits like that, like they taste so much sweeter and so much better, especially when you're not eating junk anymore. Like you're like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing I've ever eaten. And it totally is satisfying. It's not like, oh. Yeah.
My tastes have changed. I mean, I never thought that I would be the kind of person that would consider a piece of fruit to be a treat. Fruit's healthy food. I need the crinkly packets. That's the good stuff. But my taste buds have changed. And I find that I did get the Thinlicious bars and I did have one last night and it was really sweet. I was like, oh, okay, this is one that I really can take in small doses because it's really sweet because I'm just not used to that. So
yeah, well, and
it's delicious, but it's really sweet.
I had, I said I had a quarter of it yesterday, but like that was super satisfying for me. Like, I was like, okay, that was like exactly what I needed. And did I go back later for the second half, like for the second quarter, like 3 hours later? Yes. Was it gone? Yes. Still, I didn't get it. But it does, like, it is totally different than when you're first starting and all you think about is sugar, 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 sugar. And you wonder if you can ever do this. Like, I feel like the further along you get in the program, the less you are like consumed by those thoughts about food. I feel like, whereas food is such a huge thing that controls so much of your life prior to eating this way, once you learn how to do this, and there is a learning curve, like that beginning is hard when you're trying to figure out what works for your body. But once you learn to do it, it makes it so much easier because you know what works for your body and you don't have to think about it. And you're not like on that blood sugar up, down, and, blood sugar high, blood sugar low. And so your body just is kind of like even keel and you're just fueling your body with really good tasting, nutritious food. And so it does make a total difference. Okay. So what are your current goals? Like are you happy with your 55.5 pounds? Are you hoping to lose more? What kind of, where do you see yourself going forward?
My goals have changed. since I met the goal of lowering my blood pressure, now I'm like, yeah, I'm going to keep trying to lose more weight. So I'm at 160 now. So I think I want to lose another 20 pounds. And we'll see. I figure I'm just going to let my body tell me when it's done. But my mom says I'm getting too skinny, but I'm like, no, I think I can lose another 20 pounds and still be safe. So we'll see.
I love that.
That's my next goal.
She told you that.
Yeah. My size 6 mom says I'm too skinny. Yeah.
I think parents, they mean so well, but sometimes you're like, no, it's okay, mom. It's totally okay. I can lose a little more weight. So what has changed for you? Like, are there things that you are doing more of now that you've lost 55 and a half pounds? I don't want to shortchange you. Are there things that you didn't care about before that are now more on your radar, or things that you're doing differently now? Like, how has your life changed since you have moved so far along on this journey?
I've started a new hobby. My husband and I are ballroom dancing now, which is, yeah, it's awesome. We've been doing that for a couple of months, about 2 months now. And so it's just really fun that we get out a couple times a week, that, you have to do multiple lessons because they're like, you have to show up or you won't remember. So, yeah, so we've been enjoying that. And that's something that I never would have had the confidence to do, at 200 plus pounds. But I'm like, oh, no, I can do this. And what's amazing is I go there and I'm seeing people of all shapes and sizes and ages. And I'm like, I could have done this. Why did I not have that confidence before? So that's new for me. What else? Just cleaning out the closet. Nothing fits anymore. Although I did find a box of stuff and I'm like, these are old clothes. And so now I've got a few things that I can actually fit into, but I'm going to go get my colors done, which is, I don't know if I would have done that before because, when I was heavier, I'm like, oh, I can fit into it. I'm just going to wear it. I don't care if it fits or what the color is. But now I'm like, I have to replace everything. Might as well make sure I spend my money wisely. So yeah, I'm going to go get my colors done and see what actually suits me, and then try to just buy what, spend my money a little more wisely and have a closet full of clothes that I love instead of, oh, well, this fits, but now none of it fits.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I felt like was so life altering, was being able to move from buying everything in a plus size section of a department store and a plus size store and having very limited options, to being able to go into any store and find things that I love. And I felt like I could find better deals on things, and I could find products and clothes that were better made. And even like, I feel like my thrift store game is like, and consignment store game is so much like better because there's so many more options. Like, I think people are shopping at so many more stores, and then they're putting those clothes. Yesterday I ran to the grocery store. My husband said, have you been to that thrift store next to Publix? And I was like, no, I heard it was really good. And he's like, yeah, I went in there the other day and it's great. And so he was like, you should check it out. So I went in there and I found like some really, really cute stuff. And I was like, oh, like so many options. I found this White House Black Market little cardigan, and I had the same cardigan in an extra, extra large back in the day. Like, I remember like vividly being, I think maybe I probably weighed like 220, 225 at the time, and being able to like wedge myself into that sweater and being so excited about it. And so yesterday I tried on the medium and I was like, oh, that totally fits. I could probably wear a smaller size too. And I mean, I was well into my weight loss journey when I bought that sweater originally in that extra, extra large. And so I was like, this is so much fun. And even though I'm years into this now, I get just as much joy every time that I'm able to fit into something that I wouldn't have been able to fit into before, because I think I had 20 years of struggling with that. What can I wear? What can I fit into? And so it's an amazing feeling. So I can't wait to see all the things you get. And I can't wait to see how your colors turn out. It's so fun to just be able to invest in yourself and to feel like you're worth it and deserving of it, because you were worth it all along. But sometimes, like you said, I didn't have the confidence to do this. I didn't have, the confidence to do the ballroom dancing before, but now, oh, I could have done that. But there's just this switch in our mind that sometimes it takes some wins, like to get those wins under your belt for you to feel like I'm going to be successful at this and I can do this long term and I'm worth it. And so I'm going to invest in these things. What do you wish you would have known when you were first starting out? Like, what do you wish somebody would have, what advice do you wish someone would have given you in the beginning?
I wish I would have listened when people said exercise, because I didn't do very much exercise. I'm like, oh, well, Ruth says you don't really have to, but no, you do, because the weight just falls off. And I found that I am a little saggy and flabby in places I've never been saggy and flabby before. And I'm thinking, if I had taken more, if I had exercised more, like with weights and things to firm up the muscles, then the skin would be a little tighter. But I figure that's something that's gonna, that'll work out in time. But exercise for sure.
Yeah, as I've told people, I would much rather have loose skin that I can manipulate into my clothing than have fat that is much harder to hide.
Amen.
So
yeah, absolutely.
I feel like that is one of those things that it definitely does get better with time. But even those, like, I mean, with losing over 100 pounds, like I have extra skin like on my inner thighs. And yet I'm like, you know what? I'm going to call those like battle scars, and I am proud of doing the work. And you know what? I don't really care. Like, and most of the time I'm not wearing a bikini or a bathing suit, so people aren't looking at my thighs. And if they are, well, they can see that the rest of me looks great and that they're muscular, even though there is some extra skin going on there. So I love that exercise is the thing you wish you would have done. What are you doing for exercise?
Right now, I'm just walking. And the dancing. So doing that, not a whole lot. I'm going to start building in more strength training. But as I mentioned on the accountability call, I just had surgery. So I can't, the things I want to do are the abdominals and things. And they're like, no, you can't. So I can. In about 2 weeks, I can. So I'll start doing more calisthenics. I'll probably just pop up YouTube and follow some program.
You'll do something.
And obviously, and marks, for sure. I'll do marks, but
yes, those are really great. And I love his approach to fitness. I think it's so doable and just really, really practical as far as what he shares and teaches.
Definitely doable. Yeah.
So not to be all up in your business and be all personal, although I'm nosy and I usually do ask you these questions anyway on accountability calls, but do you feel like your recovery from surgery has been better than it would have been had you not lost all of this weight?
Yes, I think so. One of the things that's interesting is, and I'll give you all way too much information, but I had a hysterectomy because I was bleeding constantly. And everyone's like, oh, you're anemic. I'm like, well, it didn't show up on my blood work because she didn't test for it. So when I went in for my pre-op appointment and they did the blood work, they're like, you're extremely anemic. And I'm like, oh, that explains a lot, because, I'd be getting a little lightheaded or dizzy. And I'm thinking, oh, I need to eat. I just haven't eaten, something like that, because I'm not hungry. And I'm wondering how bad my symptoms would have been if I hadn't been doing the Thinlicious, to, where my body had already been healing a little bit. So anyhow, I'm working on getting that resolved, and the surgery went really well. I did gain quite a bit of weight, which is because they pump you so full of fluids. And we had a week at Disney World, and then we came back and I had my surgery. So I gained weight from Disney World and from the surgery. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like 11 pounds. Like, I was not expecting it to be that much. So it really can be that much. But it was gone in a week. Like, I've never lost 11 pounds in a week before. And I'm like, should I be worried? And my husband's like, it's all that water they gave you.
Yeah. And I mean, that does make a huge difference. What were your numbers like? Did you test after surgery? Because I know that can throw numbers for quite a loop.
Let me see. I'm just like Carrie. I've got my binder. Let me flip over. And they did go up. I don't actually remember if I tested a whole lot or not. Anyone?
You're
no,
probably in recovery mode.
Yeah, I did. And my blood sugar did jump up into the 90s, and it stayed in the 90s for about 2 weeks. And now I'm back in the 80s again. So yeah, the Keto Mojo is good, but I never went out of ketosis. That's what kind of surprised me, is I figured I would have been out, especially after being at Disney. I was pretty careful, but it was my birthday, and the friends I was with, we all have March birthdays. So we had 4 families that went, and all the moms, our birthdays are March and April. So every restaurant we went to, we would order, say, hey, it's her birthday. Hey, it's her birthday. So we're getting birthday treats at every restaurant and ordering desserts. And like I said, my husband's not doing Thinlicious, so I would have 1 bite and he would have 7 or 8. But, it worked. But I did gain a little weight from the wine and the daily bites of desserts and, the Dole Whips. But it was worth it.
And what's so awesome is that with this program, and I know for me, like before, I would be like, okay, I'm going to lose weight for Disney. Like, that would have been my mindset. I'm going to lose this weight before I go on this trip so that I can enjoy the trip. And then I would go on the trip and I would eat all the things. And even if I didn't eat all the things, but just had a couple bites here, like once I had those couple bites, then I was like, oh, well, it's too late. I might as well just eat the rest of this or eat that. And then I'd come back from vacation and I would never get back on track. And so like what might've been, 3 or 4 pounds that I gained from a vacation quickly became 8 pounds, 10 pounds, 12 pounds. And I didn't feel like I had the tools to immediately get back on track. So I love the fact that you said, I came right back from vacation. I had surgery. So like, not like, oh, I came back from vacation and then I don't have any excuse. Like, you have a big excuse to be like, oh, well, I had surgery, so I wanted to eat comfort food or whatever. You went on vacation, you had surgery. And then a week later, you're able to lose the vacation weight and the surgery weight. And so like, what a testimony and what a testament to what this program can do, because it gives you the tools to not only lose the weight, but when you do get off track, or you do have surgery, or you have a major life event that throws you for a curve, what the next thing to do is to get you back to where you need to be. And so I love that you just jumped right back on track and that you were able to go, oh yeah, I did track. Oh, yep. It was in the 90s, my blood sugar, but I stayed in ketosis. So I think that's awesome. And I also want to comment for those of you who are watching, know that food is not the only thing that affects those blood sugar numbers. And so a lot of times we get so caught up in this, what could I have eaten that that caused my blood sugar numbers to spike? Like pain, that can cause your blood sugar numbers to spike. So anybody with chronic pain, chronic inflammation, chronic conditions like that, like you can do all the right things and still have a blood glucose spike because of that. Any kind of major trauma to your body, whether it's you ran a marathon and so you purposely put yourself under that trauma, or you had surgery, like both of those things can cause your glucose levels to rise. And so there's so many things that affect those numbers. And so because Anita does track, because she has that keto mojo, and because she's now got a long history of knowing both what she's eating as well as what those ketone numbers are and those glucose numbers, like it's, I'm sure, easier for you now to find correlations and what is causing things than if you were just tracking the glucose and ketones or just tracking your eating. And so to see how all of those things work together to make you lose weight or not lose weight or whatever is going on in your body.
Yeah, one of the things that I have noticed, because I make notes if my numbers are off or my weight has gone up, because, it's a roller coaster. And I make notes of what I did the day before or even 2 days before, like why I think it happened. One of the things I've discovered is it's not so much what I eat as when I eat it, which is interesting because I've always been a nighttime snacker. And, I'll sit down and I'll watch TV and I have to eat something. And so I would save little bits of my food, like, okay, I'm going to have a snack. I'm not going to eat my salad at dinner. I'll have it tonight at 10 o'clock. Well, then my numbers would be off in the morning. And I'm like, oh, but that's why, because I ate late. The nights when I, followed the program and didn't eat after 7 or 8 o'clock at night, that's when my numbers are really good. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
that was a hard habit for me to break, was the snacking at night, just that one, and giving up the Diet Coke was really hard.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's been good. And the results are worth it. Definitely worth it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you've had amazing results, and your weight loss has been really pretty consistent this whole time. It's not like you've had these huge stalls where it's been months of not losing or.
No, I haven't really had a plateau. I've had instances where my weight has gone up, just like Christmas and Easter. If there's a big party, my weight will go up and then it'll take me several days to get back down, but it always does. So, I look at my, my Lose It app, and if I pull up the last 6 months, and you can see it's like that, but it's definitely the steady downward trend.
Yeah. I love when people like you say, just a reminder, it is not a straight line down. Like, you are going to gain weight. That's just part of the way that your body fluctuates. And as women, and with all the hormonal stuff going on as well, like, there are times your weight is going to fluctuate due to nothing more than the time of month and where you are in your cycle, whether you are premenopausal or postmenopausal, like your body is there's still hormones going through your body, and that affects how you lose, what kind of cravings you have, when you have those cravings. So there's so much at play, but like, for you to do the work to figure out what's causing your body to have issues is really smart, and to write those things down, because if you weren't doing that investigative work of like, why is this not working for me? Why are my numbers higher? What did I do differently? You wouldn't know that it's not necessarily what you eat, but when you eat. And that does make a huge difference. I was reading a whole big study on time restricted eating, and it was all about intermittent fasting, but it was not just the intermittent fasting, but how much time, like whether you eat an actual meal, like within, 30 to 45 minutes where you eat all of the food, or whether you eat the same thing spread out over 4 hours, what does that do to your body? And the people that ate the meal within that 45 minutes and then didn't eat anything for the next 4 hours and then ate dinner within that same, 45-minute hour, those people lost significantly more weight than those people who spread the food out. And their numbers, their glucose, and some of the other markers that they were tracking were way better than those who were eating just kind of steadily. And so they were saying that anytime you're eating, even if you're eating low carb foods, that there is a small amount of insulin that is excreted. And so there is, I mean, and even though it's not like an insulin like response, even if it's just a little juke, when you're constantly eating, that insulin number is constantly just keep pumping the insulin into your system. And so it does cause more of that like insulin resistant type of issue. And so knowing that, oh, okay, rather than like sip this drink all through the day, or rather than eat this food, I'm a snacker and a grazer. Like I could just like eat my meal over the course of an entire day. I could just be eating like a few bites here, and then 15 minutes later, I'll have a little bit more. And so that was so eye-opening for me to realize, like, after I had read that information, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And when I actually tracked my glucose levels in both different situations, it made a huge difference for me to see that is something that's worth knowing, that I can't eat at certain times, or I need to give myself more room between meals in order to have those results.
So our body's a science experiment.
Yeah. Yes. It's a fascinating one. And it's way more fun than any science I ever did in high school or college. Just because like the winner is me and I don't have to get graded on it. So that's also a bonus. Okay. So one of the questions that came in the Q&A box was actually ties into the next question I was going to ask you. So I was going to say, do you have any tips for how to make this work when you're first started out? And Sue said, for people just starting out, what are your best ideas and thoughts for them? So I think that's a perfect question.
For me, one of the things that I've discovered doing Thinlicious is I'm kind of an all or nothing person. And when I went in, I went all in. I know a lot of people say, oh, take it one thing at a time. But for me, I had to just say, nope, and just cut it off. And that worked for me. But you could do that for different things. Like I said, for me, quitting the diet soda was hard. So maybe you do the food first and then cut the soda off. But once I cut it off, then I'm like, no more. Anytime that I've had to, I shouldn't say had to, anytime that I have made some of like the keto cookies or something that's really bready like that, then I want more. So the sweet things, I find if I just stay away from the sweet things that I do okay. But it does get triggers. So for me, like Ruth said, don't cheat the first month. And she's absolutely right, because you're just going to crave and want more. So follow the program for the first month. Definitely do some weightlifting exercises, and to just be patient with yourself, because everybody's body is going to respond differently. And what works for me might not work for you. And maybe you need to be one of those people that just cut yourself down from sugar gradually, that's how you can handle it. If you just have to do what works for you, but definitely stick with it. Give yourself grace. You're going to mess up. Give yourself permission to start over, but don't wait a full day. Start over right away.
Okay. Kelly said, for Anita, what's your favorite recipe or go-to snack? And for Lisa, can you show us your whole top jacket? You look adorable today. So I'll show you my little jacket. It's just a little cropped jacket that I actually got at a thrift store. So that was exciting. And then Anita, you can share your favorite recipe or go-to snack.
I think my personal favorite recipe is the Thinlicious chili. I love that. I just made a double batch last night, so now I've got some in the freezer. Oh, and that was another thing I did with the surgery is I made a whole bunch of meals and stuck them in the freezer so that I wouldn't have to cook. And so that is part of what kept me on program, is not thinking, not shopping. It was already done. So my other favorite meals, love the coconut lime chicken and rice. The cauliflower rice with that is fabulous. And let's see what else. The taco soup, love that. The Parmesan crusted pork chops, of course. Oh my gosh, there's so many. They're all good. Oh, and the fish, the the halibut with all the Parmesan on it. Love that. So
I love that. I love that you said this and this and this and this.
It's like 15 of them. Yeah, I was listening to Angela the other day and I'm like, oh, I forgot about the cheesecake fluff. So I went out and made cheesecake fluff. So I'm like, oh, that was so good.
Yeah, that is
and
really
see,
good.
that I can eat now, but I don't put as much sugar in it.
That's one of those that I do when I'm having company over for dinner, and I will buy the little plastic shot glasses, like at, like whatever. And then I just do a little bit of fluff with some berries and some fresh whipped cream on them. And I just serve them in those little tiny shot glasses. Cause then anything that's extra, I can have for later. But everybody loves them, and they're really, really, they're cute, and they're a good portion size for me. And I love that chili too. I think that is one of my favorite recipes, and something that gets made so frequently around here, just because it's like, it always hits the spot. Like, it's just one of those really good recipes to have.
Yeah.
And it freezes well, which makes it really awesome, because I love recipes that freeze well.
It does. And I was just going to say, that's super easy for going to work. Put like a portion size in a little plastic takeout container, stick it in the freezer, and then my lunch is ready. I don't have to make a sandwich anymore. I just grab that and it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the chili. I think that's my favorite. Like, I don't know why, but like, I was never a soup person before I started eating this way, but now there's something about like soups that just seems to hit the spot. And so like, I feel like I make a lot more soup like recipes, and they're great, and they freeze well, and they hold up well for leftovers. All right. Let me ask just a couple more questions for you. Okay. So where do you see yourself? I'm just like, this is a new question I want to ask. Where do you see yourself 6 months from now?
On a beach in Cancun.
Sweet. I see myself next to you on the beach in Cancun.
Yeah, I don't really know. I think I know I'll be in maintenance by then. I can't imagine it's going to take me 6 months to lose the rest of this. So I think just living a normal life and just having fun. I know I'm still going to be keeping track of carbs for sure. That's, people say, well, when are you going to be done? When can you eat pasta again? And I'm like, I'm not sure I ever will. I don't really miss it. And I thought I would. I really did, because I love Italian food, but you can still have Italian food and just not have pasta. So, yeah, I think in 6 months from now, I'm just probably going to keep doing what I'm doing right now.
Awesome. That's a great answer. And you know what? I think, like, I'm with you. The eating, like, when people ask me that, like, well, you've been doing this for a really long time. Like, when are you going to eat like more normal food? And because I've been like roughly at this weight for a pretty long amount of time, like, I haven't really, like, there's nothing that at this point is off limits to me. Like, I feel like, oh, you know what, if I really want some whatever, then I eat whatever that is. But I ate some actual lasagna instead of Thinlicious lasagna pretty recently. I thought I was going to die. I felt so horrible. And I just want to add, it wasn't even as good as the Thinlicious lasagna. Like, it just felt like a big plate of disappointment. Like, not only did it not taste as good, but then I felt crappy for the rest of the evening. And I was like, why do I do this to myself? And so, like, when people are like, oh, but don't you miss whatever? Like, the answer is no. And sometimes I let people get into my head and make me believe that I'm like missing out on something really good when they say like, oh, but don't you miss pasta? Or when are you going to start eating these things again? And like, sometimes I believe like, oh, maybe I am missing out. And then I eat lasagna and I'm like, nope, not missing out at all. And the fact that like, I feel like I swallowed a watermelon and like, I'm so bloated and so like just gross feeling, and like my inflammation is crazy and I walk like I'm 150, like none of that's worth it. And so I think like for you to say, oh, I'm really going to not be doing much different, except I'll be in maintenance. Like, I think that's a good realization and a good place to be. One last question. What are you having for lunch? Terry wants to know. Do you know?
I'm having leftover Thinlicious chili.
Okay, awesome. You guys should all go make something fabulous for your lunch today. Anita, thank you for spending time with us this morning. I hope you are fully on your way to recovering and back to exercising and doing all the things again soon. And again, thanks for joining us and sharing your story. I know it's been super inspirational and motivational, and I just know that a lot of people will come away with so much good info after hearing you share your story.
All right, guys, that brings us to the end of today's episode. I will be back Monday with another new episode where we're going to dive into a topic that's probably relevant for all of us at this point in the summer, and that is bouncing back to the low-carb life after a vacation or a setback. I'm going to share some super practical tips and a lot of encouragement, and hopefully it will be just what you need to get back on track if you feel like you've fallen off the wagon. In the meantime, it would mean so much to me if you are enjoying this content that you would subscribe or follow the podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you like to listen. And not only that, if you know anyone else who would find this content useful, then please, please, please be sure to share it. Send them a text, share it on social, share it via email, shout it from the rooftops. I don't care. We want to get the word out to as many people as possible because, guys, I believe that we can change the world by helping people change their health. And then finally, because this podcast is so brand new, your reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify or wherever you listen are a really big deal. So if you feel so inclined to leave a review, that would be absolutely amazing. Then be sure to take a screenshot and send it to us at hello@thinlicious.com. We will be choosing someone at random every single week to win a whole bunch of fabulous prizes, including Thinlicious Magic Protein Bars or 28-Day Metabolism Reset, t-shirts, and so much more. And then if you have any questions or if you want to connect or if you have any ideas for things that you'd like me to talk about here on the podcast, please feel free to send me an email at hello@thinlicious.com. And then I will see you back here very soon for our next episode. That's all for now.